Hi, and welcome to 647 6 Stories for 7 a.m. because there's a famine of truth in our land. And this is your quick news fix, and the truth starts now. Well, here is the truth as fast and as fixed as I can make it. It's Monday. It's a holiday. Here I am with these headphones on. I'm the hardest working man in short news. There you go. And I'm going to say something about this whole trans thing, which I've been listening to and reading about all weekend. It's just ad nauseum, and it's disgusting. And I went to do some research on this, right? And AI, the little hooker who could, tells me it all began, the whole trans thing began in 1200 BC in Egypt. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Guess what? Because it ain't true. It is part of the fix. And so we're going to talk about that. This was the trying to get objective information, which you cannot on the internet. It is a big damn problem in our country. And I don't want to hear about everything else when we can't get the truth. And our government should do something about it. And it's called break up these monopolies and stop screwing around and get to it. 1200 BC in Egypt. BS. Big Pharma has paid for a truth-cleansing tsunami on the internet. Even AI has become an obedient little geisha to the Big Pharma edict. What is that, you ask? That from 1999 to 2011, Big Pharma was practicing on lost souls to develop a product for a mass inculcation of lifetime patients. Patients whose lives become a walking pharmacy of drug dependence from age 11 to 82. There is no limit or governor for the number of drugs you may need to become and sustain the new you. What will not happen is happy. Big Pharma, once they decided on a targeted group of victims to exploit in every way possible, first, they bring their checkbooks to academia, the largest, most compromised whorehouse in our culture. For money, they give you a backstory and doctored clinical studies, glowing white papers with assured outcomes, and fat money, faux hope and change for the unhappy and unsuspecting. Armed with all of this high-toned fakery, they head to the docs, in this case, pediatricians, because Big Pharma wants this annuity to run at max expense per individual for at least 70 years each. Big Pharma tells the docs what time it is and how much money they can make on all aspects of gender-affirming care. And the parade is slowly starting to roll. Next stop, medical journals, a pay-to-play prostitute ring. No moral resistance, just cold, hard cash. Now Big Pharma has academia research, physician specialists in the field, medical journals to refer to. Next stop, Hollywood to order a star-studded trans tearjerker or two. Then discussions about the movies and the issue by the legacy media, for big money, they rolls out the mockingbird public dunce cap, rinse and repeat over and over 24/7 until people think they know something. And in fact, want to be part of the fallacy. In New York City in 2014, if you went out for dinner at a Tony Eatery, 4 tops and 6 tops of leftist elites would be yelling over one another to announce the virtue signal of how proud they were of their latest trans grandchild. The Big Pharma managers now have a perpetual motion machine run by the foolishness of human vanity, social insecurity, and affluence that does not equate to happiness, only digital vanity and consumerism. Forgotten in this financial Wall Street melee are the unhappy souls whose bodies don't work right anymore, whose minds are drug-addled, who wake each morning hoping for the euphoria of being special in someone's eyes, but instead feeling like all the financially incentivized expert cheerleaders who assured their folks to follow the yellow brick road, to see the wizard, in the hope that their child would be Dorothy with ruby slippers, saying, "There's no place like home." Unfortunately, they got a big pharma bitch on a rattly black bike who nastily turned their child into a flying monkey. Flying monkeys don't fit in, so they become angry and they want revenge. And they want the revenge to hurt the people they hope to become. Happy people, fulfilled people, maybe even believing people, but innocent people. The flying monkeys are part of this tragedy. The foolish parents are part of this tragedy. The massacred people are part of this tragedy. The villain is Big Pharma. Everyone got their COVID shot? Just asking. All right, take 2. I looked up the definition of reprobate mind in Webster's dictionary. Here's what it said. Queers for Palestine block Ottawa Gay Pride Parade demanding boycott of Israel. Can't make it up. So here's the report from Breitbart. Ottawa's Gay Pride Parade on Sunday was halted by a pro-Palestinian activist group called Queers for Palestine. Ottawa Q4P, that's Queers for Palestine, who demanded that the Capital Pride group boycott Israel and declare support for all oppressed peoples, including Palestinians. Capital Pride seemed to take umbrage at the pro-Palestinian demonstrators hijacking the event and haranguing them in the middle of the street, while Q4P was furious that Capital Pride told them to tone down the anti-Semitism when it invited them to participate in the parade. Q4P fired off an angry social media communique, noting that it was told it had full support from Grand Marshal Patience Plush when its contingent of hundreds was invited to the event, and it was not about to let Zionist genocide supporting politicians police its behavior. Q4P was also incensed that Ottawa Mayor Mark Sutcliffe was invited to the event, presumably through the good graces of the Grand Marshal Patience Plus. because Sutcliffe boycotted the Pride March last year for taking a pro-Palestine stance. Sutcliffe on Monday blasted Q4P for using force to halt the Pride Parade and said he had no intention of apologizing for his boycott last year. Sutcliffe's recusal from 2024 March was prompted by a statement from Capitol Pride that equally condemned the of terrorism on October 7, 2023, and the endless and brutal campaign in Gaza launched by Israel in response. I don't think we want to have a situation where anybody can just block a parade, especially Capitol Pride, put a bunch of demands on the table, and the parade doesn't move forward unless people get into those demands. I don't think that's acceptable, he said. Okay, take three. Let's tone it down here. This will get your equilibrium back. Over 200 people have filed paperwork to run for president of the United States in 2028. And I'm not kidding. The United States will hold its 61st presidential election on November 7th, 2028. As of August 28, 211 candidates are officially registered. And what a group they are. Note, no nationally prominent politicians have yet declared. In 2016, 1,740 registered to run for president. In 2024, 1,564 registered to run for president. Who knew? Of this August's 211, the largest block are 62 rhinos, all with your best interest in mind. The Dems have 49. There are 100 candidates who have filed as unaffiliated, and there are 40 who are independents. Trump is asking the Republican National Committee to hold an unprecedented midterm national convention in 2026. I love this guy. He is just going to stir things up so bad. It's going to be a famine of popcorn in our country. I'm warning you. And everyone will go, I didn't know. There's no popcorn. What am I going to do? All the fun stuff is happening. It is going to happen. You're going to need the popcorn, trust me. All right, take four. No exceptions. President Trump to sign executive order requiring voter ID in elections. This is Amy Furr from Breitbart. President Donald Trump said Saturday he will take decisive action when it comes to voter ID and elections across America. In a post on Truth Social, Trump wrote, voter ID must be part of every single vote. No exceptions. I will be doing an executive order to that end. And there are 3 exclamation points from the president. Also, no mail-in voting except for those that are very ill and the faraway military. Use paper ballots only. Again, 3 exclamation points. President DJT. Election integrity has long been an issue on the president's mind. In December 2022, he told Breitbart News that Republicans must fight Democrats on mail-in voting and ballot harvesting like the Democrats do. At the time, he recognized that Republicans were forced to live with the system until they could get back into power and make changes. That would be now. Let's make those changes. Let's get on it. Tired of talking about all this stuff. Let's get some things done. All right, take 5. This is from Mike Davis. Steve Bannon calls him the Viceroy. He is, how can we explain this? He is the General MacArthur of what is going on in all the legal strategy. And he has been working on this for 4 years before Trump got elected again in 2024. He's a brilliant guy. He's a great guy. And he's a fighter. So let's hear what he has to say. The District of Columbia is our nation's capital, where foreign leaders go to meet our presidents at the White House. On the way, these leaders do not see a shining city on a hill as they peer through the windows of their motorcades. Instead, they see a crime-infested dump riddled with drug addicts, disturbed homeless people milling zombie-like around their tents, and gangs of thugs in stolen cars who yearn to target innocent residents. The D.C. legal system is an utter disaster. Richard Nixon won approximately 20% of the D.C. vote in 1972 in his landslide over George McGovern. The most success any Republican presidential candidate since D.C. has been a part of the Electoral College. So the most success any Republican president's had is 20% of the vote in D.C. In his 3 presidential elections, Trump topped out at a whopping 6.6% of the vote in 2024. And the lowest performance by a Democrat was Hillary Clinton at 90.9% in 2016. Are you getting the picture? Trump winning, he only got 6.6% of the D.C. vote. Hillary losing, she got 90.9% of the Democrat vote. D.C. is chock full of Democrats, many of whom fill bureaucratic jobs in the federal government. These voters comprise the grand jury pools and the petite jury pools for D.C. cases. So you can't get a fair trial in D.C. unless you're a leftist. It's no wonder that Biden's special counsel, Jack Smith, did everything he could to rush to a D.C. trial of President Trump prior to the 2024 election. Regardless of the merits of his case, Smith knew that he had a conviction in the bag based on the composition of the jury pool. He took extraordinary measures to secure a pre-election trial, even attempting to bypass the appellate court to obtain faster Supreme Court review during President Trump's pretrial immunity appeal. Smith's belief was well-founded. For instance, a D.C. jury recently had acquitted Michael Sussman, a Perkins Coie lawyer, for plainly false statements made to special counsel John Durham during the probe of the Russiagate investigation. A rabidly partisan D.C. civil jury hammered former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani with a $148 million defamation judgment for statements he had made about election workers concerning their work in the 2020 presidential election. And all of that is going to be found out, and hopefully Rudy will be made whole. The utter farce of D.C. became crystallized recently because of the actions of Sean Charles Dunn, this degenerate, then a career Justice Department lawyer, threw a Subway sandwich at a federal law enforcement officer. He ran like a coward after he had thrown the food, but the police caught him quickly. D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, Trump's all-star pick, sought an indictment under USC 111 for felony assault of a federal law enforcement officer. A D.C. grand jury, however, disgracefully declined to issue one. This development infused D.C. leftists with glee to the point that they are now calling Piro's office and claiming that they are going out to buy more sandwiches. So funny. Because of our Constitution, fixing D.C. will be tough. Democrats want to make it a state and install 2 Democrat senators forever. And we must use all legal tools to defeat this effort. President Trump is doing all he can to improve D.C., highlighted by his appointment of tough as hell Judge Jeanine Pirro as the top D.C. federal prosecutor. But thanks to unconstitutional laws like the D.C. Home Rule Act, the administration can only do so much. This law needs to be repealed, a feat which would require overcoming a Democrat filibuster. In the meantime, President Trump must employ every legal strategy to continue improving D.C. His takeover of Union Station will lead to more businesses returning to what had become a cesspool of homeless camps and thugs. If Congress does not permit the takeover to continue after 30 days, the president should declare a national emergency to keep it going. Let the legal chips fall where they may if the local government challenges his authority. Our nation's capital belongs to all Americans, not to local D.C. violent thugs and their enablers on the bench and jury pools. President Trump is admirably leading the fight to preserve and protect it. Way to go. The Viceroy, Mike Davis. Remember that name? Look for him every time you see him in the news. All right, take 6. Neil Young has a new song out called Big Crime. Now, our brother Neil, he hates President Trump. He hates Republicans. And so here are the lyrics to his new song being touted on the left. No more great again. There's big crime in D.C. at the White House. Don't need no fascist rules. Don't want no fascist schools. Don't want soldiers walking on our streets. There's big crime in D.C. at the White House. No money to the fascists, the billionaire fascists. Time to black out the system. That's it. That's the whole song. So, look, Neil is a well-meaning asshole who really believes this stuff, has always believed in the cartoon version of binary politics. He's a follower of Woody Guthrie and got lost somewhere along the way. What I'm trying to say is Neil's Canadian. We're not Canadian. We're here celebrating Labor Day and having a nice long weekend and enjoying all the liberty and freedom and largesse that Americans love. And here's what I love. I love it when you share us. I love it when you like us. I love it when you make comments. Tough comments, benevolent comments, nasty comments. I don't care. I'm taking them all and I incorporate them. And what can I say? I'm here on Monday for you. I'm going to guilt you into doing all this stuff. Okay? Promote, promote, promote. You can't get this stuff anywhere else. Look at those first 2 pieces. That's like off the chart, off the wall. But you know it's not off the wall? I'm going to ask the omniscient Lord of the universe to put his hand over all of you this holiday and to make sure you have a fantastic holiday Monday. And if you're not fortunate enough for it to be a holiday like moi, then do the best you can. Work as hard as you can. There's nothing wrong with hard work. Do it with integrity. Do it with creativity. Do it with sincerity. And you know what? God is going to bless you. So God bless you and have a great Monday. No mas.